right, good morning. Look at this. We already have an audience. There's like at least half a dozen people watching already. Good morning. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast, and I have the most anticipated guest ever on Master Motivation today. If I were to go back to my very first ever guest that I asked, it was my wife, and she said no. But now she said yes, and we're on the show together. Hi, babe.
Hi.
It's been like 15 minutes. We had breakfast together, we had Rotary together, and now we're on the podcast together. We should do this more often.
That's right.
It's so fun. All right, guys, I have to I want to read an introduction, and no introduction could give her the proper introduction, but here goes. This is Jackie Flame, who is a dedicated Moorpark resident, business owner, and passionate community volunteer. She serves as City of Moorpark Arts Commissioner and also sits on the boards of the Moorpark Chamber of Commerce, Moorpark Morning Rotary Club, and Team Wish. Jackie also contributes to the Moorpark College Zoo Advisory Committee and co-founded the beloved local event, Holiday on High Street. Alongside her husband, that's me, we own Moorpark Karate Krav Maga and are partners in Country Harvest Restaurant here in Moorpark since, in 2024. Jackie faced a life-changing diagnosis of biphenotypic leukemia, and after a courageous year-long battle, is now in deep remission. Guided by her Catholic faith and strong community support, she is committed to sharing her story to bring hope and awareness to others facing similar challenges. So, wow, not enough to say about you, but that's the introduction. After all these years, since 2022, I've done the podcast. It wasn't until now that you would be a guest on the podcast. Why did you decide to be a guest on the podcast now?
So this Saturday marks 1 year since, now I'm going to get all, since my...
Don't cry, because I'll cry.
Since my stem cell transplant, so I guess another term would be my bone marrow transplant. And so this Saturday will be 1 year. So I thought it would be great to kind of spread awareness and talk about what the last year looked like for us.
Yep. That I remember the very first day you went to see our doctor and have some blood work, and the blood work was not what we wanted to see. And so our doctor sent you to a specialist the very next day. And right after that, that doctor sent us directly to UCLA. And from there, it was a whirlwind of emotions, education. But like you said, our faith and the support of our family, friends, community, everybody around us really rallied. And so I'm proud of you for wanting to talk about it, because you are not usually one to talk about lots of feelings and all the things, but I think that you're doing a great thing just sharing your story. And by the way, Cody is watching, my mom is watching, and Maddie is watching. So Maddie, if mom and dad cry, I'm already getting choked up. So there it is. All right, guys. Hey, by the way, wow, we have the most ever people watching live for this show. We have 15 viewers now. Please let us know that you're here. Thank you for your support, and do us a favor and share the video so more people can watch it, and we'll be sharing the link later. Also, go to YouTube and subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast. And here we go. So again, let's start at the beginning. What were the first signs that something wasn't right? And how did you eventually receive the diagnosis of biphenotypic leukemia? And explain what biphenotypic is.
So in early January of 2024, on like a Wednesday, I started to feel really run down. And then Thursday, super, super run down, all out of nowhere. And I just figured I run busy, I run tired sometimes. It was just after Christmas, after New Year's, I was just tired. So I just kind of chalked it up to exhaustion. I had to answer the door. Our exterminator was there, and I couldn't stand at the door and talk to him. I had to bring him inside the house, and he was like, "Why am I coming inside? I'm in the outdoor exterminator." And so I had to sit down and talk to him. My heart was racing really, really fast. and then dropping really, really quickly. Um, I was super, super tired, super thirsty, and again, all of that out of nowhere. And then so that's like Thursday. Friday, I went suit shopping with you, and I remember sitting in the waiting area in the dressing room, sitting out on the couch, and I just could not stand up, and I was so tired. And you were trying on suits, and I was like, "Oh, try on another one," because I just wanted to just sit. And then Saturday, I went and had an IV, like a vitamin infusion at my favorite local med spa, just trying to do anything to feel better. And Sunday, we're at church, and it's, we're Catholic, so we stand, sit, kneel, stand, sit, kneel. I couldn't do it. And I happened to have my smartwatch on, and the alerts were going off that my blood pressure was up and down, and my heart was racing. So I called Dr. Boucant, my primary care physician, on Monday. She got me in. I called her Monday mid-morning. She got me in on Tuesday morning, and she called me by noon, and she did blood work. And by noon, she had called me, and I thought for sure I've been lifelong anemic, and it's never really affected me. I would just get lightheaded sometimes, and I thought, I'm anemic, that's all it is. And so by noon, she called me, and I said, "What's up?" And she said, "Well, it's serious enough to have landed on my desk already. And so I'm going to send you to my friend, and he's in Westlake, and he's in the UCLA network. He has agreed to see you tomorrow on his lunch break." And this is now Wednesday, we're going in. So I went and saw him, and I called. They called to confirm with me, and they said, we are hematology and oncology. And I said, oncology? I thought, they said, it's oncology. And I said, oh, okay. So I went in, and they did a spinal tap on me to pull out some fluid and see what was going on. Or I'm sorry, it was a bone marrow test to pull out some fluid and see what was going on. And he quickly looked at the paperwork and said, if I had to guess, and I don't like to guess, but I'm usually spot on, I think there's ALL. And so tomorrow is Thursday. You're going to get a call from UCLA. You need to check in, and you'll probably be there for 5 to 6 weeks. We need to get you into remission quickly. And I said, well, unfortunately, this Saturday is my son's first-degree Krav Maga test, and I need to be there, but I will check in Sunday, but hopefully Monday. And he said, no, you're not going Monday. You're going to have to go tomorrow. So we did that, and that was the start of it. I was watching his Krav Maga test via phone, and from you and Maddie were sending it, and getting my first chemo. I was getting what they called the Red Death. The heaviest chemo there is what they started me off with. So
I remember being in the office. There was Dr. Slomowitz, right? And we were in
yep.
the office, and you had to do that, the spinal tap, and probably like literally the hardest thing that you had ever done up to that point, maybe. Although you've birthed 2 kids, so that's pretty crazy. And but watching you, it was, for me, one of the hardest things ever to watch you in so much pain and to be so afraid, because we didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. And to hear that first, I don't know if the word cancer was used, but to hear about leukemia and to hear what was going on, I just remember being in shock. But then there was something that came over me, and I think that you could feel it, is that all we thought was, okay, what do we need to do? What are we going to do next? Instead of wallowing in the fear, we just said, okay, what are we going to do? And I remember going home and crying on the couch, and just being so scared, and that was so hard. And I know how hard it was for you to not go see Mason test. So Mason, that's why you need to test for 2nd degree at some point, to make your mommy proud. and to give her that chance that she missed out on, not under her control at all. But missing that test was so hard for you because you've never missed anything. As a mom, you have never missed a dance recital. You have never missed a test. You never missed a show at school. You never missed a chance to volunteer. You never, ever missed anything. And I know how hard that was for you. It was hard for me to watch. Um, but let's also talk about, again, biphenotypic leukemia is rare and it's not often talked about. Can you explain in simple terms, and I still can't really, but what makes it different and how it affected your treatment plan?
Yeah, so it's acute lymphatic leukemia, and I also had AML, acute myeloid leukemia, which is super, super rare. Just to get the AML as an adult, to get the two is like, it's just to get one is a 1 in 800,000 chance.
Only someone so special could get it.
Well, I'm extra. And then on top of it, there was a marker, which I don't recall the number ever when I'm asked, but it's in all my records. But it's a marker with a very unique number that they have only, like these top medical professionals have only seen in children. They went to Texas and spoke about it. It's a very rare thing. So they had to be very cautious in how they treated this, and very mindful of getting in there and doing it quickly. And so they hit me with everything. I mean, I had, and so this is part of it too. I just knew leukemia. I just, you see it on chemotherapy. You see it on TV, and you see people throwing up, you see the drip, but I never really understood what it was exactly. I know, it's poison to your body. I just didn't know what forms it came in. I was given simultaneously for months at a time, the chemo pills, the chemo drip out of a catheter that was semi-permanently surgically placed into my arm that went straight into my heart. And then I was also given through my spine. So they would periodically, a couple times a week, pull fluid from my spine, and then replace that fluid with as close to as they could get to equal parts of chemotherapy. They didn't always nail it and get the exact amount put back in, which would produce for 4 days usually really intense migraines. I couldn't sit up at all, which I'd never had in my life and haven't had since, luckily. I've had a lot of those spinal procedures. And so, yeah, so that for me, that was kind of, it was important for me to take away the mystery because I didn't know what chemo looked like for people. But ALL and AML are biphenotypic leukemia. And then the marker, that was the really concerning one, that prompted my medical team to then say, you know what, I think we're going to also do a bone marrow transplant. Let's look into that down the line. And it was actually presented to me as maybe we'll think about it. And they knew all along they were going to do it. They're really good at keeping me from not knowing more than I need to know at once, and not overwhelming me. So the bone marrow transplant was always on the horizon. So I went into the hospital in January. I was out it was supposed to be 5 or 6 weeks. I believe I was out in 3. In home, but it was still meant driving every single day, 5 days a week, back to UCLA and Westwood, thanks to you, and visits every day. Then they, sometimes for 5, 6, 7 hours with infusions where we had to wait and get blood tested, and sometimes just an hour in and out. So that's that.
Yep. Hey, gosh, I have never, ever had anybody on this show that has brought so many viewers to watch us today to hear your story. So thank you, Sean and Emilio and Suzanne. I know Maddie's still watching, Mom's still watching, and Cody is out there. Guys, this is an interview where I'm asking a lot of questions and Jackie's telling us her story, but I know that maybe you haven't had a chance to ask your questions. Maybe there's things that you didn't know that you want to know. And, ultimately this show was produced so that Jackie could help other people to kind of take away a little bit of the mystery of it, because as we went into this, day one, I mean, we knew people that have had cancer. My dad has been through it. We've had other family members that have gone through it. And then you hear people that have passed away because of it. And it's just like, wow, there's just a lot pouring in your head. But a lot of unknown. And that was really the scariest part was, and the doctors were very good at keeping us at bay and not telling us just enough that we could get through the day, but not so much to where we would be, because I think if they would have told us everything straight out of the gate, there'd be too much thinking involved. There'd be too much emotion involved. So I'm actually really grateful to the doctors. I can't say enough good things about Dr. Boucant, number one, just right out of the gate, always taking care of us every day. Dr. Slomowitz for acting quickly. And everybody at UCLA, there was a couple nurses that we didn't love, but they were probably at the end of their shift and had been there quite a while. But everybody along the process was pretty amazing and super caring and thoughtful and compassionate. When you go in, talk a little bit about going into Westwood, every day. I mean, we'd go in and to the point where we just started getting to know everybody's name that worked there. We'd go in, sit down in the chair. Sometimes it wasn't in a chair. Sometimes if you know someone that's had chemo, they go sit in the chair, get hooked up. Jackie's already got a pick line, so it's pretty easy to connect her. And but some days I was wheeling you in a wheelchair because you didn't have the energy. You were tired, especially once the chemo started kicking in. It was just taking all your energy. And there were times where we had to request a bed and let you lay down because you just could not do it. So, there's so much that happened, and going there every day. Yeah, if you guys know me, I'm not an early morning person. But when it comes to taking care of you and being there like 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up, that's just what we had to do. 5 o'clock, a lot of times, sitting in the 405 traffic, which is misery. Like worse, definitely not as bad as the chemo, but sitting in that traffic sometimes for 2 hours, finding out where every bathroom was, because of course I'd have to stop sometimes on the way, sometimes twice. But yeah, it was crazy. But so let's talk about this, because this is a big part of it. Is how did our lives shift, personally, professionally, spiritually, the moment you heard the word leukemia?
So when we got home from Dr. Slomowitz's office, you went right into tell me who you want me to call and I will take care of it. So I remember you going actually into the garage and making the calls. I asked you call my brother and have him be the point of contact with my family, and let's go from there. Let's call, you got to call the chamber. I was on the chamber board, and I was president of Moorpark Morning Rotary Foundation at the time, which, I'm not a big delegator, so I took on a lot there. And people like Chris Barrett and Mark Richardson, they jumped right in and they said, whatever you need, we'll take over your posts for you. We'll take what you need. So, so the immediate change was having to get all of that taken care of. Everything at the studio, you seamlessly had everyone jump in, and so many people offered to help right away. And I was mostly worried, of course, first and foremost about our kids. Grateful that they were older when this happened to me. But, I had a freshman and a senior in college and living at home with us. And suddenly they had to take care of the house. And when we needed them to run an errand, they ran errands. And we were doing an event for the local police department. And Maddie went and picked up all the little vouchers for all the police to, and assembled the gift bags. She finished the the centerpieces that I started for Mason's black belt test that Saturday, because I just didn't have the energy. I just prototyped one for her and showed her, and she went ahead and did it all. And she picked up the slack on a lot, and so did Mason. And, he took care of the dog so well, and which was a big issue for me because he was turning 14, and, now he's 14 and a half. But I was worried about him, and were the kids going to have enough food? I must have Instacarted. I don't know how often. We got Maddie a Costco, card, so she could go to Costco. I Instacarted a ton of food to her and to him from the hospital. Thank God for Instacart, and thank God for Amazon. And so life changed. Just all my responsibilities, and even yours. We just had to step back and say, you know what? The world is not going to crumble if we aren't doing our volunteerism, if we aren't present. We have to just take care of what's important right now. I said 100 times, the only way out of this is through it. And it was just a good reminder to tell myself that in the really hard times. Some of the visits were very tough, and I just had to push through. And I would tell myself, in an hour, you'll be back in the car and it won't be so bad. So.
Well, you hit a million things right there. Our life shifted and changed almost instantaneously with that first visit. Just I think our mindset shifted a lot. Our number one priority was your health and you getting better and you getting through this. That was the very first thought. And only with our faith were we able to hold on to hope and know that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I just remember that very first day. I just, kind of closed my eyes a couple times, and you start talking to God and trying to listen to God. And I don't think I ever got so close as during that time. And so that really shifted my focus on life in general. Everything else became unimportant, and that's not to say that it wasn't going to be important again, but the studio, the chamber, everything we volunteer for and everything we do, all of that just had to go away. All of that had to go on the back burner. And it was so overwhelming, and just a feeling of gratitude to people like you said that stepped up, that said, hey, go take care of what you need to take care of, and we got this while you're away.
Yeah.
Our kids absolutely 100% stepped up in a way that I never ever, not that I didn't think that they could, but Maddie never wanted to work in the karate school ever. And yet, as soon as you were sick, Maddie stepped in, and she was the mini Jackie. She took over so many little details, so many little things. When I was having a hard time, Maddie was the one that always checked in on me.
She did, and that made me feel so good knowing that she was looking out for you, right? Because you were so strong, you were always so strong, right? The man has to be strong, he feels, and you were so strong, and so many men would come forward and say, I don't think I could do this for my wife, which always makes me laugh a little, because of course you could and you would, but they'd see what a tremendous mountain you were climbing, and they were in awe of you. So I can't ever commend you enough for all that you've done and your strength for the kids and for me.
Yeah. I would do it all over again. Not that I ever want to, but I would do it 100 times over. And I have zero regrets in anything that I gave up and anything that I had to put, to the side for a minute. But Maddie did an amazing job. Mason really stepped up at the studio. He has become and they both grew up. It's hard. They had to grow up fast, and different life experiences happened to me the same way, where when my parents, decided they were moving to Oregon and I was going to stay behind by choice, um, you know, we grow up fast, and both of them, I'm just so proud of them. So I hope they're watching and know how proud we are. And we try to tell them every day. And so, with that, life shifted. I'm a very different person today than I was a year ago. We listened to a speaker this morning in Rotary, and we got those virtue cards, and I that mine was peaceful, right? And yours was kindness. And I was like, wow, those are pretty powerful words that I think really have described us. And I think it's even more so because of our experience over this last year. Um, you were already one of the kindest, most giving, generous person that I know ever. And you come out of something that just almost kills you, literally, and all you want to do is give more and give back. And like, I'm just so in awe of that constantly,
Thank
you
you.
know? And I am, you know, I think I'm a lot more at peace with letting things go. I'm OCD to the max, but I was able to let go of a lot of things. And what's funny is I think the studio runs better when I'm not here, because the kids and everybody here are doing such a great job. But I would have never known that because I always wanted to be, in the forefront. And so I had to step back, and I'm happy that I did.
Yeah.
Hearing that word the first time was devastating because you hear stories unlike ours where it didn't go the same way. Um, so what are your thoughts now just on how you've adapted and how you've uh, your mindset has changed since then?
Yeah, I mean, and speaking to, things don't always go well. And with the cancer diagnosis, I had lost two friends within the first 1 to 2 months
Mhm.
of my diagnosis. I was still in the hospital, and I know a few of you had said they didn't want to tell me that this friend had passed and that friend had passed, and I knew I figured it out, but it's really rough. It's um, I have a whole new empathy for anyone going through anything. I mean, just in the time that I was in a wheelchair, and we would go from the hotel to the hospital because I had to stay in that hotel across the street for a while following my transplant. Um, just navigating the crickety Westwood sidewalk outside the Chick-fil-A, or getting through the Chick-fil-A that had an entrance but no exit, in a wheelchair, is eye-opening. I mean, obviously I've always, and I'm always funny about, do you open the door? Do you do too much for someone who's in a wheelchair because you don't want to, take away from their ability to do things, because you want to know that you can do it yourself, and by no means ever be condescending to anyone. Um, but something I've definitely learned, and actually Sean Nelson is someone who taught me this, is just do it. If you want to help someone, just do it. I mean, so many people were like, "Can we start a GoFundMe for you?" No. Can we can we send you flowers? We weren't allowed to get flowers. Can we do this? Can we that? I got so many amazing gifts from every corner of the world. And people are incredibly generous and amazing, and everybody kept saying, can we send food? Can we send food? And I was like, no, the kids will be fine. They have, they've got their cars, they've got the restaurant, they've got they've got DoorDash, they whatever. And Sean said, well, I'm going to bring your kids food, so I'll get in touch with Maddie and I'll take care of that, and we'll figure it out ourselves. And that's just something I learned. If someone you think is in need, just do it for them. Just because we all say no thank you, no, we don't need it. But what a blessing that was to know that my kids had, by the way, amazing food. Um, and Cecilia Collette, same thing. She brought over a couple of times the most amazing Mexican food. One of my first nights back, she made this arroz con pollo that I like gobbled up, and I thought, oh my God, that's the most food I've eaten in 2 months. Anyway, it was, yes, Michelle, exactly. It's if you want to help someone, just do it. Don't ask, don't wait, just do it, right? Like, none of us want help, but sometimes it's just nice for it to show up. So
100%.
coming out of that, that's something I feel like was a huge lesson that I learned.
Well, yeah, people like Sean and Cecilia and those that sent stuff from, like you said, literally all over the world. You had things coming in. The nurses started joking about where we were gonna put everything because we just had Amazon packages like literally every day. It was like we never left home because it's the same way at home anyway. But those people that do. But you're that person. You're that person, just like Sean, just like Cecilia, just like the people that did, just because you do that all the time, and never for the credit, never for the Facebook post or the thank you. Like it's just because that's who you are. I mean, and it's the simplest of things. It's just crazy that you're able to do that, because some of us are just so you know, busy, right? That's the word. Everybody is
We're all
busy.
busy,
Everybody's
yeah.
just doing. And so I'm just yeah, I'm just always in awe of that. And we're so you're talking about the story about the wheelchair. So this was kind of a fun part for me, at least, because um, I got my extra workout outside and pushing you down the hill and up the hill, and like just thinking about it now, like going into Chick-fil-A, like we would like get so excited about like it was our Chick-fil-A day, or like I was gonna go shopping at the grocery store across the street and bring us back food in our room that only had a microwave, and I had to go down to the kitchen to make anything. It was just wild. But the whole time, I spent most days at the hospital, and then when we went over to the hotel, I was there quite a bit. And to me, there were some times that it like literally felt like our vacation from this busy life that we were leading. And it was a good like wake up call. Like, we don't need to do all this shit. We just don't have to do all this. We do it because we want to, but we don't have to do it. And man, it was I just love now. I feel like I'm so used to that time. I'm so used to staying in the hospital, and we would watch TV together all day, or I would watch it. You would sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the sleeping and the bears and the
Oh my God.
the dwarfs. Some of that medication was pretty tough. But like I've gotten used to that. I've gotten used to and we have always since day one enjoyed each other's company. Like I could go anywhere in the world and it really doesn't matter as long as we're sitting side by side or sleeping side by side. And I am so grateful to wake up next to you every single morning, no matter where we were. Preferably not in the hospital or not in that hotel, but it just doesn't matter. Um, you have always been deeply active in our community. And how did your roles and responsibilities shift? We talked about this a little bit during your treatment. And how did the community show up? We talked a little bit about this already before, but let's kind of like now we're a year fast forward. What's changed?
Um, so at the time, everybody and anyone in any of our organizations said, how can I pick up the slack? How can I help? I mean, people jumped in. Holiday on High Street, I didn't really even plan it. I did very little with it last year. And we showed up and it was flawless, right? It was phenomenal again. And so I think everybody made sure they picked up all of what needed done around here. I mean, picking up my Rotary Club, like that was my club, right? I was the president. I was so excited. Those were, I mean, I love everybody in that club. They checked in on me, and just people who I don't even know very well checked in on me and would, I hope you don't mind, I'm messaging you. And some of them I didn't get back to for like a month because I just wasn't even in that mindset or on my phone. We started a Facebook group right away, just to kind of let everybody know what was going on, because we just had too big a circle that we wanted to keep in the loop that we just couldn't, that you couldn't. We called it Jackie's Journey, and a few people were like, "Whoa, I thought you were doing some new like business venture or something. This is not what I expected it to be." And the positive words, I mean, I remember once it was Barbara Baez who put up a post that said, "Let's all make Jackie's day happy today and post pictures of our dogs, knowing how much I love dogs." And there was like this huge, like, hundreds of comments long full of people's dogs. And it did make me happy. And so just the little things like that made a huge difference for me. What does it look like now? I am trying to mindfully cut back. I mean, I've had the most amazing job offer given to me and twice, and it fits me. It's all the things I would love to do. And I don't have it in me right now because I tire faster. I tire out a little bit faster now. Too much, I guess, social exposure, just a lot of loud noises, concerts, a lot of interaction. I mean, after a couple hours, I am done. My brain just shuts down. And I actually asked my nurse about that, as you know, last week. And she said, yeah, it could be the chemo. It could be from all the radiation. It might slow down and get a little bit better as time goes on, but we don't know. So there are things that I still have that I'm living with, and it kind of keeps me from overcommitting, which in a lot of ways is a good thing. I'm a big overcommitter. I was just talking to our HOA president outside yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, you have another seat in the board. Do you need help with that?" And I thought, "What are you doing? Stop." And I currently may be on a thing too many, and I might have to cut back. So I said when we were in the hospital, we need to really assess everything that we're doing and really only do the things we love, not the things we kind of said, okay, I'll do it. So I think I've done a pretty good job of that since leaving the hospital, doing the things that really speak to me.
In the beginning, well, and throughout the whole process, right? There have been a lot of people that have surprised us. And I always tell the kids that you always learn by watching people what to do and what not to do. And so I watched as everything was unfolding and as time went on, people really surprised us. Some really, really good came out of nowhere, and you're just like, where did that come from?
100%.
And some that just didn't show up. And I'm learning that some people don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to ask. They don't, it's just like, it's easier to say nothing than to say anything. So but there were definitely some times that I got frustrated. I was actually kind of mad. I was like, man, why isn't this person checking in? Like, whenever they need something, they're always the first to ask. But now it's like, if we're of no use to them, there's no phone call, there's no message. So that really, those are some things that I learned that surprised me. So again, some in a good way, some in not such good ways. And I think we really, learn more about our inner circle, who's truly there for us, who's only there for what we can offer. Those were just some pretty surprising things to me.
For sure. I mean, and I was trying to make sure, and I still do, keep my head clear, stay in a place of no bitterness, no anger, be grateful for what you do get, and not who's not there or who doesn't do or doesn't check in or whatever. And I'm still a little torn, if I'm being honest. Like so one of my friends, Natalie, who we did lose her last year to cancer, in the very beginning part of my journey. Had told me years ago, she had breast cancer when I first met her years and years ago. And she said, I've lost the most friends since I had cancer because nobody knows how to check in on me. Nobody knows what to say to me. So they just don't. They just ghost me. They ignore me. And that has not been I totally understand that. That has not been so what Maddie's saying, that has not been my experience, but like your brother, Justin, and his wife, our kid's aunt, Jennifer, she's always been a huge presence in our kids' lives, and they respect her so much and love her. She would call from Utah and I'm
Idaho.
sorry, Idaho. I always get those confused. From Idaho, and pray with Maddie at night. And she would message me and say, "No need to respond, but I'm thinking about you and I'm checking on your kids. And I just want you to know your kids are doing great." And like, she's that person anyway. And she's got an amazing soul. And we knew that. But there's just those special people that you focus on things like that, right? And you don't, so this person didn't check in on me. Maybe they're having, we go through times of our lives where we just can't take it on. It's too heavy. It's too much. I don't want to get involved in it. And you just have to respect that and let it go. And it's okay. Family or not, it's hard for me to process looking back at it. I'm always the one that's, for good or for bad, I'm like, well, you're dead to me. That's been my funny thing all my life. And I try not to do that. I try to make sure we just understand. Somebody came from a different place. They don't get it. They don't have that bandwidth to take care of that in their brain right now. So what are you gonna do?
And just the other night, we went to celebrate Troy Brown, our city manager, who is retiring. And we were there quite a while, and there was a lot of stimulation. And I remember you're like, "Okay, it's time to go," and I'm like, "Okay, it's time to go," and we start walking out. And then I turn around, and you're talking to two more people, and I'm like, "It's time to go." And we start walking out, and someone else grabs you, and I'm like, "We're leaving now." And I really hate doing that. So for those of you that we spend time with, and like we leave in a rush, it's not because I'm antisocial, which maybe I am sometimes. I don't mean to be, but when it comes down to it, like there are a lot of times where I have to tell you, no, you can't do that. You need to come home. You need to stop. You need to just let it go. It's okay to take a nap. It's okay to rest. And that was not really my role before. I didn't really do that a lot because I don't know. We were just always used to going and going and going and no problem. Just one event to the next event. That's what we're known for. That's what we've always done. But now I'm very, very sensitive to it. And anytime I see you getting overwhelmed, like I can feel it. I can just sense it right away. And I know that that's a new thing for us where we struggle with that, and you can't be anywhere too long. Even as we're talking about vacations, we worry about where we're gonna vacation because we think about, well, are there good hospitals there? What if something happens? Our doctor says Hawaii's out based on their hospitals. But
But
what are we gonna
Europe's
do?
in.
But Europe's in. He said Europe is good. So okay, so we still got to plan our trip to Italy at some point. Um, Guys, we're 45 minutes in, and we've barely scratched the surface. We got a lot to talk about still. So if you're watching and you have questions, there's something that we have not touched on. Thank you for everybody that has already commented. Leah, Robert Perez, Michelle Liddell, Rick Broadsley. These are all people that definitely felt their support throughout all of this. I would get texts from Robert and Rick a lot, actually, checking. Mark Richardson check in on me a lot. "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" So thank you guys. Thank you for watching, and would love to hear more comments from you, or again, any questions. So let's talk about faith and our faith playing a big role in your healing journey. Can you share a moment during your treatment when your Catholic faith gave you strength or clarity?
Whew. Um, yeah. So when it was quiet, so you would be there. You typically try to stay there 2 nights to 3 nights on, and then 1 night home, and then back again, just to check on everything at home, make sure everybody was okay. And I know, like, I hated when you left, and I would always say, "No, go, you're good," but I would cry when you left, and
I would cry the whole way home.
and then when you got back, I was so excited, and sometimes I would try to track you on the way back, and I would fall asleep, and then you walk in and I'm sleeping, and I always felt so bad when I slept when you were there. But in the time when you weren't there, and sometimes I would ask the nurses if I could just have a couple hours to sleep because they were constantly checking on me for good. I feel like in the quiet, I took so much time to pray and just, they say be still, and just be still. Michelle Barrett made the most incredible playlist for me and sent it, which I don't even know how she did it because she's not a technology person and I definitely am not, so I wouldn't know how to do that. But she sent me a playlist of all these Christian songs, which I've never really, you've liked that music. I've always been like, it's not my thing. Oh my gosh, it just spoke to me. It meant so much to me. And I just feel like I took a lot more time to be still, to pray more, midday, not just before bed. And, then being able to go back to church was like the one thing we did. I would go home and rest all week so that on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. we could go to mass. And our Monsignor Hernandez took such amazing care of me, and I felt the love from our church. How many people have reached out since then and told me their stories, and we have a great church community. So I've just felt a lot of love from them.
I'll never forget. It was, I think, your first time back to mass. It had been a while, and you went to you had zero energy. You were barely, you know, I didn't have to carry you in, but like I had to walk you in and like literally just let you sit there and rest. And yes, in Catholic mass we stand up, sit down, kneel, all the exercises. But you would be sitting the whole time, and it came time for communion, and you started to get up, and before Monsignor distributed communion to anyone else, he walked over to you. He said, "If you're strong enough to be here, I'm walking over to meet you." And wow, I remember crying right after that. I remember just going, "Oh my gosh." And on the days that I came home, I often came home and still went to mass on Sunday. And mass was always something I did with you. The very first time I ever went to mass was with you. I never went to mass growing up, as you know, and most of my friends know. Um, and when we started dating, we started going to church together, and I didn't know anything about the Catholic faith really. Um, but I knew Jesus, and I knew that I believed, but I didn't have that formal, and mass became something very like, I love structure. I've always loved the structure of mass. I love that it's
The
very
ritual.
traditional, the rituals. And so, even when you were in the hospital, I would still get up. I could have slept in, but I would intentionally get up to go to mass, and that quiet and that listening and just sitting in reflection. And selfishly, I guess, in my own mind, I felt like everybody was staring at me, like, "Where's your wife?" Because we always walk in together.
Mhm.
Everybody notices, and everybody would look over and wonder. And I always dreaded having to talk about it, and tell them, because it was just hard to say at the time. Now I can talk about it a little bit more freely, still get choked up a lot. But, mass was important to us. And while we were in the hospital, we also had, the nurse, actually, she was a nun, I believe, that went around and visited, right? And she brought communion to us for the first time when you could actually receive it. And I remember you kind of feel this, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I felt like kind of a flushing through my body that was so powerful. And just as we prayed together, um, just what a difference that makes. And Kevin Kowalczyk sent me playlists also. He would send me a song here and there. Listen to this on the way home. Listen to this on the way there. I still listen to those songs on a pretty regular basis
I do too.
because that music kind of grounds me a little bit. And I was not, listen, I grew up on Slayer, Metallica, and like death metal, right? And here I am listening to Christian rock and listening to songs about Jesus. I mean, powerful. Yesterday, I went to the gym and I normally listen to, Motley Crue or I'm listening to Eminem or whatever, like for my workout music to get pumped. And I decided yesterday was a day that I listened to Mercy Me the whole time, and just the overwhelming calmness that it brought to me, and just that time of quiet. Even though I was in the gym, it was just kind of my time. So I think there's just so many different things that it's played a role in our journey from then to now and continues on. Thank you, Sharon and Lorena and Brenda. You guys are watching. I'm trying to throw those comments up there, but thank you guys for watching. Still no questions, but maybe we're giving all the information you want to hear.
It's okay.
And we still got 25 strong watching us right now. So thank you guys. Okay, so what was it like for your family from your perspective? Obviously, I can give a lot of my perspective, but what was it like for your family? Even Buster, who I hear tap dancing in the background, um, when going through this whole experience, what do you think was the impact?
Um, it's such a hard one for me because, I never want to disrupt anyone's life, or, I'm the one that supports. I used to always joke, I'm support staff, right? Like and you'd always say, no, you're not, stop. But that's, that I'm the one that I set out the vitamins. I make sure everyone's favorite protein bars are in the pantry, and the banana yogurt, the banana Oikos or Chobani or whatever it is that I'm buying is always in the fridge. And all the things that we need to have, I make sure they're here. And to know that I had to push that off, on any of you who are perfectly capable and willing, right? But I fold the towels. Nobody folds the towels like I fold the towels, and I do the laundry, and timely, and things don't sit in the hamper, and they don't sit. And just having to push all that off on everybody was really, really, well, at first it's just got to be, and I wasn't in much of a, I wasn't really there mentally. But as I got a little bit better and I still couldn't it was really hard for me. And having to call, to text Maddie and say, hey, Dad's coming back. Could you send him with my favorite shorts? Could you, send him this? Can you please put away the new thing from Nordstrom that Dad doesn't need to see that package? All of those things that I
I
would have
saw.
but all those things I would have to, let go of was hard on me. And then to have to push it off on all of you, to see that it was really hard on the kids. I'm still not entirely sure. I know it was really hard on them. And like I see as the months unfold, even following all of that, and Maddie will tell me little things, and it breaks my heart to know that she was hurting so much, and that Mason felt confusion. And, he came home. He was the first one, other than you. We were on a call. You and I were on a Zoom call. You were somewhere and I was here, and I don't remember what it was about, but my doctor called during that. I don't know if you remember that. I had to step away from the Zoom call and take the call and then finish out the Zoom call. And I told you about it. And I think it was when the doctor said, I need you to come in tomorrow at my lunch break. And Mason came home shortly after that, but before you made it home. And I was in tears, and I just laid my head on it and cried. And I felt horrible, because a mom isn't supposed to do that to their kids. And, I'm not supposed to seek strength from them. I'm supposed to give them strength. And he just hugged me, and that was just very hard for me, because he was just a kid. Um, and Maddie, I know she's so strong, but on the inside she's not, and she's she was trying so hard to show that but then I found out later how much she had struggled, and I you gave up so much. I mean, I remember just the Martial Arts History Museum had offered Jason Flame Day, and you had this all ready to go, and it was supposed to be such a big event, and you just let it go like it was nothing. And luckily they rescheduled, but it was just so selfless. Everything you did, you stopped everything, and not just because you had to, because you're a husband, but you did everything for me. When I couldn't sit up, I was crying on your shoulder in the waiting rooms, and you never said anything when I lost my hair. You helped me shave
I
my
got
hair.
to shave. I got to shave it the second time.
Yeah, and
I'm a
so
barber.
you were a barber. And so that all was so hard, because to see it be hard on all of you sometimes was harder than what I was going through.
It was literally never. It was never a question. There's never, ever, ever a question of, am I going to do this? Can I do this? Like never a question. You always joked about the support staff thing, and because I'm such a vocal person and I tend to be in the spotlight a lot, it often put you, um, in that role to be more in the background. But you kind of like that. You kind of like that a little bit more. I was always used to being on the mat in front of a class and a performer. It was just natural for me. So it was you were very good at just kind of staying, I won't say in the shadows, but anybody that knows you, I mean, anybody for as long as I can remember, knows that that's not who you are, that you're not just the woman behind the man. You are always definitely, we are side by side. And when you weren't able to do the things that you would normally do, and I stepped in and did those things, I had a whole new. I already appreciated you so much for everything you already do and everything that you are, but having to do some of the things that you did, I mean, I would come home and I would do some laundry and I would take care of bills and all the little things that you kind of do on some downtime, and I'm just like, holy crap! Like how did you ever get any of this done? And so it made me see just how much more I appreciate you and how much gratitude I have, for everything that you do, because being Jackie Flame is no easy task. Everybody thinks, oh well, Jason's the spotlight guy, and it's like, yeah, but I don't deserve half of it without you, because even the stuff that I do, it does everything we do in the school, everything that we do with the restaurant, everything that we do in the community, holiday on High Street. I may have a loud voice and I could stand up in front of everybody, but it's always, your heart and your brains and your knowledge and stuff. And so with my muscles and my body, like, we put it together, and we always tend to work everything out. But yeah, during that time when you were in the hospital, it was never a question. I wasn't just gonna like let it slide and be like, oh well, and I definitely didn't want you to have to come home and be like, oh my gosh, none of this had been done. I got to catch up. I wanted you to come home and feel like all you had to do was rest, recover, recuperate. When you came home, and the times that you did come home, you had immunotherapy, we still had lots of visits. So, I mean, it wasn't really until like the last, what, 90 days or more, really, that like, because
Yeah.
we're still going every other week, for now. We only have one more visit that we're going every other week. So, it's like we're still kind of in it, and everybody sees you and they think, well, she looks great, right? You got your hair back. You look, as radiant as ever. Your face is always like you always just have this beautiful glow, right? Everybody
Well,
comments
that's
on it.
Skin and Beauty Bar. They did all that for me.
Well, but I mean, like you definitely
Yeah.
do not look sick. So of course everybody figures you're great, you're fine.
Yeah.
She's back,
Yeah.
and so yeah, but you are in deep remission now. What does survivorship look like for you? And that's like a hard word to even say, survivorship. What does that look like for you today, and how has it changed your perspective on life?
So, you yell at me anytime you see me on Google, and I try not to look at too far ahead and just be grateful. And I not just try, I think I successfully am grateful for every single day and every single moment. It's super important to me. It's important to me too, and I didn't mention this earlier, but you know, e- everybody has been touched by cancer or has had cancer or thinks they understand cancer, and absolutely nobody understands your cancer like you do. Every single person in the world who has had cancer or been touched by it, it's a different situation. I talk about biphenotypic and having that really crazy rare marker, like one in millions and millions. But thank God I never threw up from any of the chemo. Like I talked about earlier, you think chemo is just you take chemo and you throw up. I've never thrown up. If I thought I might be a little queasy, they gave me something in advance to make that not happen. However, I had some really, really, really rough moments on my spinal taps. Most of them amazing. Two were the most horrific. I actually use the term barbaric methods ever. So when I look back at that, it's important for me to communicate. Somebody gets breast cancer, their survivorship's different. But knowing all of that, my transplant, which is supposed to really change everything up in my body and eradicate, we didn't talk about this, but Mason was my donor for my stem cells. That was really tough to watch him go through. Maddie was perfectly willing also. We just chose Mason. But he stepped right in and no questions asked. 3 days in a row, or was it 4 days? Did it end up being 4 days? Having to give huge needles in his arms, lay here for hours at a time while they took one out and took out with one tube and put back in what they didn't need into the other arm for hours at a time. He couldn't move for days at a time. So anyway, so that stem cell transplant meant, it was a little bit more insurance, I guess, for me to get rid of everything for the time being. But, it could also, sometimes it could mean another type of cancer comes back. So it's kind of rolling the dice. Anytime you get cancer, they're tricky little cells. They can only keep it out of your body. One, very small fraction could still be in there that they can't see. But that could be true of all of us who sat out with baby oil on our skin when we were 14. We don't know what's to come when we're 60 with skin cancer. That all presents later. And so you just have to not think about that. I think you just have to make good choices, make good food choices, make good health choices, keep the negative out of you, because I believe so wholeheartedly that, we watched a show last night that somebody said to one of the characters, I can see it in him. There's dark in him. I think in the show we were watching, they were like on drugs or something when they said that. But there is a thing, right? You see darkness in people, and I want to be someone who's bright and has the light, like not just act like it, but really be that and be happy and positive. And I, in my heart, I know that got me through all that I've been through so far. And I think that continues to get us all through things, is when we're positive, and that contributes to your survivorship.
Mm-hmm. There is a question here.
Okay.
I'm going to try to find it. Get this one off. Michelle. Oh, this is good.
Oh, it's not a bad question.
No, it's a good question. They're all good questions. And by the way, um, you know, being negative is a quote cancer, right? I mean, when you're the negative person in the room, you ruin the mood in the room, and I think that you and I both have a heightened sense of that and try to kind of go the opposite way, right? We were even just talking about in our staff meeting last week, being the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Yes.
Um,
You
so
know, and
that's so important.
we get criticized for that too. And look at support more park businesses. We don't allow all the negative in there and in our Facebook group. And yeah, I know things go wrong at businesses. I know we get it wrong. I know the gas station gets it wrong. Everyone gets it wrong. I don't want to hear about it in my group. It's not a place to do that. And people say, oh, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the world. Well, in my world, it's going to be. And if you want to be negative, there's places to do that. And it's not around me. So, but to Michelle's question, what would Jackie from several years ago be shocked to learn about now, Jackie? I think this hair would shock me. It's funny. I didn't really mourn it, right? I felt like it didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would. Like now it's crazy. There's always something sticking out as it grows out. It's growing straight up. I always joke, and who knew that it was this color? Because I haven't seen that color since I was 18. But I feel like I'm proud of myself that I've taken it as well as I have. Like I didn't crumble up. I don't know. I didn't really get depressed when it came time to fight for things. I leaned on the right people and I fought when I needed to. I spoke up for myself really well. There were some, like I said, there were a couple of situations where things didn't go the way they were supposed to. And I spoke up for myself and said, you know what, that's not right. I've done this before and something's wrong. And I made sure, and then of course I told you about it, and you called the nurses station. I found out later several times you've called and done that, but I think I would be shocked to learn how well I've navigated through this. I'm proud of that, and to me, I've helped so many people. I would walk into the grocery store, and my hair would be, you could tell that I've been through treatment, even though I always had a beanie on, or I'm always cold, or whatever, and there's always someone who is looking at me that I know they're going through it, and I'm happy to talk to them. And I'm super proud to have that role right now, to be able to help people when they need it.
Mm-hmm. I am so proud of you for that, because if you know my wife, it's just, since we've been together, even early on in our relationship, even I remember saying I love you was hard. I was the first to say it, just for the
Who feel
record, to
you?
all of you. I'm the feelings guy,
That's right.
believe it or not, people.
There you
But for you to talk about all of it makes me super proud. The fact that you now go out of your way to maybe comment or send a message to somebody, or something positive or something, but specifically when it comes to if they're having a challenge with their health, or they're on their own journey, you've been there just to kind of jump in and talk to them, and talk them through and give them some positivity, because you've had that for yourself as well. I know you've had people that have messaged you. You've got some people that send you prayers literally still every single day. So I think that that's super cool that you can carry that on. And when it came to the hair, right? Like the hair was a thing, right? I mean, it was a thing in the beginning, and I'll never forget, and I know you remember this, and I just told my dad about it the other day. The nurse that came in and talked with you,
Yeah.
and he looked at you and he said, "Look, honey, you can cry about your hair every day and just be upset about it, or you can just take charge and just shave it off yourself right now." And you're like, "Okay, will you shave it?" And then he did. And then when it came time, the next time, the second time, we're like, "Well, I'm gonna lose it. Let's just get rid of it now and not have to deal with it," because you were able to take charge. And I think that often, and this is maybe a tip for people that are going through any kind of treatment, or you have to advocate for yourself. You can't just go with the flow and just be blind and not have a say, because you do. And there are often times where even timing of medication, there was just certain things I was like, I don't think that she needs that much. Or we're getting to that topic in a second. Um, and it's I was crazy stats. I was tracking when you took,
Still
what
do.
you took, how much you took. Like I had it down to a science. Like people are like, "Are you a medical professional?" I'm like, "No, but I've been paying attention and taking notes."
We did that.
And so, but we had to advocate for ourselves a lot. And there were times where the wait was a little longer than we felt was necessary, and it's like you got to speak up. You just don't want to sit back on that. Okay, so let's talk about the bears really quick. How many bears did you see? And what color were they? We joke about this. Anybody,
So
any Grateful Dead fans out there? Because
it
Jackie will
wasn't,
tell you a
they
story.
weren't like tie-dyed bears. There was a time, so a stem cell transplant is nothing like chemo, is nothing like anything, and I was never fully prepared for it. I will say that. A stem cell transplant strips you of everything. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I didn't eat for a while. I can't even describe all the things that that meant. Like, I truly can't describe it. But I was on so much medication. At one point, 40 pills, right? Wasn't it a day? And my throat was completely closed up. And some of them were so big, I couldn't even get them down. Physically could not. They'd have to give me like extra intravenous to get it in, all the things. And they were amazing. But there was one, it is flagged on my chart now to never give it to me. There was a day there's video of me talking to myself, which is, I never want to see that again. Don't post that. And there was, and I remember talking about, there would be bears walking through, cute little bears, like brown bears walking through my through my hospital, right past the foot of my bed. And then sometimes I would see little gnomes with like pickaxes walking through and working. Nobody was threatening or mean or anything, but I visibly saw them. And I remember, "Do you see that bear?" And you're like, "I'm sorry, what?" Maybe I should call the nurse. I'm like, "No, there's bears. They just walked in." And then the little gnomes just walked in. And this is coming from me who doesn't even take Tylenol or Advil unless like once a year I absolutely have to. So my body didn't like that medication. So that's about the bears. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, that was. Let me tell you now, coming from a spouse's perspective, right? If you've never, I was never into drugs, anything like that. I had never seen anybody hallucinate that way. And that's exactly what it was, is that they were just hallucinations. And, there were many times that I spent reading, writing, just kind of sitting, watching you, sleeping. And then, you'd be having a conversation with Mason, or you'd be having a conversation with somebody. And I'm just like, this is not good, right? And I'm just going back to the advocating, because I was like, she's on too much pain medication. You gotta start weaning her off, because I started worrying about the aftermath of, you've never been a drug person in your life, but I didn't want to have to deal with, an addiction, and you having to, come down and come off of it and
Sure.
struggle with that. And, Dilaudid is a serious, that was that, basically you had a pump where you could, give it to yourself. And I was like, you need to take that pump away. Like, just
Oh,
flat
I'm so
out.
mad at you.
You
That's how I
were pissed
felt.
off, like literally to the point where you were just getting mad. And that's when I knew that it was becoming a problem, because like your behavior was totally different. It just was not. I knew that wasn't you. And so again, my point is the being an advocate for your spouse or for yourself when it comes to that. Let's dive into the next couple questions. And guys, thanks for sticking with us. I know it's a little longer interview today, but we definitely wanted to get this out there. Hope the kids are watching, or will watch it again later. And I'm super happy to have the conversation. So number 8, question 8. Many people are afraid to talk openly about cancer. We talked about that a little bit. Why is it so important for you to share your story and help take the mystery out of the disease?
When you have acute leukemia the way I did, it comes on very, very fast. And people ask me all the time, okay, real talk. Didn't you feel it? Didn't you know it was coming? What have you not done for yourself? What have you been eating? How did you neglect yourself? And sometimes I'm like, real
Bless your
talk.
heart. Bless your
Bless
heart.
your heart for that, the little bit of placing blame. But, who knows what it was, right? Was it 48 years of who knows what, right? Like 20 years of using the wrong moisturizer, or living, and I'll swear to this, living too close to the Santa Susana Field Laboratory, or, who knows what it was, a percent of this, a percent of that, something in my genes. We don't know, right? Nobody knows. The doctors don't know. It just is luck of the draw. Why is it important to talk about it is because it can happen to anybody. God forbid it happen to anyone watching. Not everybody can fight it off. Not everybody is as blessed and lucky as I was to get the most amazing medical care, and to have such a circle of love around me. I will swear that love is what cured me. I think it's important that everybody knows what the process is, that it never really ends. I'm going to have another spinal tap at some point, and I'm just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. But you get through it. And I think the different types of chemo, like I said, the pill, the drip, the injected into my spine, I'm sure there's others for other types of, I was told I wasn't going to have radiation, and then suddenly I had to have radiation in my brain out of nowhere, which there was nothing in my brain. And I had to understand why that, and why then I had to have total body radiation, which is a whole different thing. And you to talk to someone who needs to hear what the process is going to be or what it could be, I think is important. I had a transplant coordinator who told me, just, like everything else, just what I needed to hear and how we needed to get through it, but never that it would be so debilitating to where I couldn't even walk around or walk out to the mailbox when I got home for months at a time. So I think it shouldn't be taboo. I think cancer you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, because the unfortunate reality is right now you will at some point be affected by it, whether it's a loved one or an acquaintance or someone who maybe needs a ride or something.
Yep. And we were those people in our 20s, 30s, maybe even still in our 40s, where we just weren't affected by anyone super close, really had no idea. Um, but then, like, now it seems like every time we turn the corner, we're talking to someone. I mean, as my mom mentioned a couple times in the comments, my dad is back going in for chemo for his third time. And, that's just, man, something is there. There's always a reason too, of what's going on in your life, but you just don't know. You don't know what that person or their family is going through. You just don't know how it affects them, because, like you said earlier, everybody's story is different. Everybody is affected by it differently. And, if anything else, for both of us, the empathy that we feel for others, how many students do we have that are going through different treatments just right now that, we may not understand their full story, but there's a little bit more empathy there now, having gone through it and being so close to it. Some of our families visiting the hospital on a regular basis. I mean, it's just no fun.
No.
But like you said, it is unfortunately a reality, and something that we are seeing and dealing more than ever now. Um, Now, number nine is a tough question. Was there a moment during your treatment where you ever felt like giving up? Was there anything that helped you push through the most darkest days?
Um, no, to answer that, no, I never felt like giving up. I do remember being so mad when they first let us come home, and he said, and I remember I'd come home and I would lay on the couch, and then I would take a bath or a shower when I could stand up 30 seconds long enough to, we bought the shower seat. And I remember kind of having an outburst and saying, what are we doing? You're just moving me from room to room and giving me pills all the time and taking me back to the hospital. Like, what's going on? And you said, you're damn right, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm going to do for you until you get better. But I just remember thinking, when am I going to get better? Like this, nothing's getting better. I can't even communicate what value do I have to anybody, and so our dog is old and he has to go potty 500, almost as much as you have to go to the bathroom.
Stop it.
And I couldn't even, I'd have to call the kids to come from downstairs to let him out because he'd have to go out and I couldn't even get to the door. And so I remember thinking, what value do I have? But you all showed me that I did, and helped me through it all, because you literally pushed me from room to doctor for a while there, where I had nothing else but to watch TV and just sit. So
I don't think that there was ever a doubt in either one of our mind that you were going to get through it and get better. It was just kind of a matter of when, and sometimes the impatience. There was definitely some impatience on my part too. It was it it was really frustrating and really hard to see you in that position, because there was literally nothing I could do.
And you're a fixer.
No matter what, you know, but you know, I take pride in having been able to do all that, and be able to do all that. What if I had the type of job that I probably would have had to quit and somehow find another means of income in order to do that? But how blessed were we that somehow, and we talked about this, God prepared us for last year.
Yeah.
God prepared us with the right people in our life, with the right career path that led us to where we are, to where we had the independence. God gave us the means and the ability to have the most amazing insurance, which, by the way, I will never, ever complain about paying for insurance, because I did for many years. Why do we pay so much for insurance? Well, all of that money, I could multiply it times 10 and I'd still pay it, because the amount of care and what you received because of that. I mean, the fact that we never had a GoFundMe account, the fact that we never had to accept money from anybody, the fact that we were able to pay all of our medical bills before before we even had to think about it. God had prepared us for this so well. It's just that's the only explanation for how we got through it. But there was never a single time that we doubted. That it was never so dark that we
Right.
were thinking this was it, right? It was always, how long? And we would ask the doctors a lot, and ask Carolina, our nurse, how long should we expect for this? What's the timeline? And the answer was always, it just depends.
Yeah.
It just depends. It
That's
was
how you-
never like, right? You can't. There's no like 2 weeks and you're good to go. 24 hours and you're good to go. So I don't know. That was again another learning experience for us, because we are very much like, okay, ABCD done, next.
And a
And
list
we
and a
could
plan, and I'm going to do it. Right.
and we couldn't always do that. We couldn't always have it just that simple. This last one, now that you're on the other side, and I don't know really what that means, the other side, but now that we are where we are, what advice or encouragement would you give to someone just receiving? So if you were talking to someone that this was their day one, what would your advice be?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think, I have talked to people, right? Like, people have reached out to me, hey, I'm not posting this anywhere, but what would you say I should do? What do you think I could do? What's your my best advice is fight hard for the best medical care you can get. I know it's easier to stay local, and I know there are great physicians out here. I mean, two of them, Dr. Bukant and Dr. Slomo, I owe them my life for what they did for me, in different fields. But go to the specialists, go to the doctors that fight your insurance, do what you have to do to get in. I mean, our first night we had our room given away, and we were given the advice, just go in through ER then and they'll find your room. And sure enough, that same room we were promised that was given away actually wasn't given away, and we got in, and with apologies on the way in, and they started all my IVs that night. And just advocate for yourself, and don't go too far ahead. Don't Google, don't look ahead. What's going to happen is what's going to happen, and you just have to take it day by day. And so that's to me is super important advice, is don't catastrophize the situation any more than it already is, and just take it as you can.
Yeah, the no Googling rule is important. I don't know that I ever really Googled anything unless I didn't understand a word. And there are lots of words that were kind of like way too smart for me. But I didn't want to do that. I went in with the mindset of, I'm going to listen to the doctor and try to understand the steps that we need to take, follow directions, which I'm not typically a rule follower, but listen to the doctors. But for me, it was listening to you. That was so my advice for spouses would be listen.
Yeah.
And I listened to you a lot, and whatever you needed is what I wanted to make happen. If you needed relief, I wanted you to get relief. If you needed help, I wanted you to get help. If you needed a pancake in the morning still, I will make you a pancake every morning of the rest of my life, and feel great about it, because it's what I can do to be there and show up for you. And I mean, that's when it hit. And I know that a lot of spouses are also have their own trauma, and it's okay to, again, I was fortunate to have people to talk to.
Yeah.
People would ask, do you have, do you need to talk? And I'm like, actually, I'm really good. I'm really good. I went to the gym every single day. From the hospital, I ran to the gym and ran home, or back to the hospital. I got great exercise. I had good stress relief. I had people to talk to. And so again, to a spouse that's going through this, like, take care of yourself too.
Yes.
Listen to your spouse, and talk when you need to talk, and pray when you need to pray. And I spent a lot of time reading and journaling, which was very therapeutic for me, which I've only shared a couple pages with you so far, but I'm sure at some point you'll get to read the whole book. But yeah, so guys, it's been almost 90 minutes now, and there's still 25 people watching. Cannot thank you guys all enough for just listening, but also for your support along the way, not only in the past, but in the future. We have so many great friends and an amazing community around us, whether it be here in our martial arts school, through the chamber, our own, personal family members, of course, and friends. If you have any thoughts or any comments, would love to hear them. Once again, please share the video everywhere and anywhere you can. I think this is valuable information to anybody that's ever struggled, or anybody that's ever gone through this journey, and maybe it just might give them a little bit of inspiration and hope. I'm going to ask one last question, and not to Jackie, but how many people think that Jackie and I should do a podcast where we just talk about marriage? Anybody down for that? Like, I want to do a side by side. We could sit together and we could just talk about it. What do you think? Anybody like that idea? There's an 8-second delay, so I'm gonna wait for those comments to come up. Give me a yes or a no, thumbs up, thumbs down. All right. Anything, Jackie, anything you want to ask? Oh, Maddie says yes. We can give you
My only final closing thing is, and this is in hindsight, is if you do encounter someone who's going through it, cancer, whatever, like, remember, every woman out there remembers somebody when they were pregnant, or, at one point I had miscarried and people remembered me being pregnant but didn't know I miscarried. There's always someone that's got some comment. Oh my God, it's you're so big, or oh, let me touch your, when I had my baby, it was a terrible experience. The same goes for cancer. Everybody wants to share their story, and I think they want to purely just share. I think it's so important. My best advice is just listen more. And I had so many people telling me, yeah, unfortunately, they're no longer with us. That person died. I want to hear the good. And I think if we can just fill up that community with all good stories and positivity, I think that is super helpful to anybody with that diagnosis.
All right. Well, babe, we did it. I
We did.
waited
You got me.
since 2022, people. I asked Jackie to be the first guest. Brandon Kemmer was actually my first guest, I believe, on the
He's
podcast.
way better than I am.
Not even close, and I love him, but I love you way more. This is awesome. We'll never watch this back, you and I probably, but who knows? Maybe people in the future will draw from it. I don't want to get too sappy and too into it, and I definitely don't want to cry again, although I'm not afraid to cry. But I am so proud of you. I am so amazingly proud of you for doing this, because I know this was hard. I know maybe you didn't really want to do it, and you didn't do it for you. I don't know that you even totally did it for me, but probably a lot of it. But you did something for other people that only few people could provide the insight that you did today. And I'm proud of you for all that you do for our family, for our community, for for yourself, for the studio. You are the most amazing person in my life, and the person I love more than anyone else. And I couldn't be more proud to call you my wife, to call you my best friend, my partner, the mother of my children. Like, you are truly everything to me. So I love you. I love you. I love you so much.
I
And
love you.
happy almost birthday in 2 days. You get only, listen, very few people get 2 birthdays.
I know. I
So
can't wait to see what gifts you come up with. I'm so excited. Love you.
oh my God. Maddie, are you listening to this? Mom
I love
says she
you.
wants presents and cake on
And Kate,
Saturdays. So how we're going to pull that off with Krav testing on Saturday, I'm sure we'll do something. All
I'm
right. Well, couple comments. Let's throw them up there. Becky, thank you for watching. Sharon, thank you for watching. Michelle,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And Maddie, you're my favorite daughter. 100% my favorite daughter. I love you both. And that's it, guys. All right. Well, that's been the Master Motivation Podcast with the one, the only, the fantastic, amazing, beautiful Jackie motherfucking Flame. That's what we call her at home, by the way. All right, guys, that's it for today. We'll see you next week on the Master Motivation Podcast. Mwah.